All right, Keegan, great to be talking with you today.
Howdy, howdy.
All right, yeah, this is the software cowboy. You may know him from LinkedIn. He's got quite the following. Very excited to be talking to him today. Keegan, why don't you get us started with a little bit about your background? I think I know you're a big part of Outreach's rise to fame, one of the main kind of sales and outbound products out there. You were a big part of that success. Why don't you walk us through kind of your background and how you've now ended up at Warmly leading sales?
Yeah, so first career in sales started at outreach.io. That was when sales development was a completely new thing. It was 2019, very beginning of 2019. Jumped in, I think there was only 20, 25 SDRs at the time. They were just opening up their also Orlando SDR office. And so we were just really jumping in. I got thrown in and they're like, hey, have you ever cold called or cold emailed? I was like, nope, but I'm ready to learn. And all I did was shout at the customer success managers, the AEs, and then the SDR leaders that were or like individuals that were killing it. And basically, I just became a sponge. And I was like asking customer success managers, why do people love our product? Why do people even use our product? Like, I don't want to hear the sales part. I want to hear from like you who works for the customer. Why do they use our product? Gave me a quick understanding of how it all works and the value to the customers. And I started applying that to my outreach and I started becoming like the cold calling voicemail king. I would literally leave the most outrageous voicemails because they were pattern breakers. I brought on and tested video and found out that that works really well. And I quickly got promoted, broke company records, still hold some records to this day. I found out when I went to Unleash. And now some of my old school, old tactics, they're not old school, but some of my old tactics are still actually applied to their new hire training today at Outreach. So that's kind of what forecasted my whole launch into going into leadership because I realized, I had something that was different than the regular approach that stood out as a pattern breaker that you could scale. And I started building teams with the mindset in mind that, hey, we're going to be pattern breakers. We're not going to do the typical outreach everyone else is doing because they're not hitting results like we are. So everywhere I would go, I'd kind of bring that mindset along. And I actually became friends during my outreach career at Time and Outreach with Zoe Hartsfield. Anyone that knows LinkedIn knows Zoe. She works for Apollo right now. She leads community over there, but she's very well known with her brand on LinkedIn. Well, Zoe and I go back to the days where we were just SDRs. No one knew who we were. And we were basically exchanging helpful tips for each other. She was teaching me how to use BombBomb Video at the time when she worked there. And in exchange for her tips and knowledge, I was showing her how to build world-class sequences that worked really well because where she was at, reps had control of their own sequence creation. So we were swapping ideas and giving best practices. Then we became friends. I got to actually meet her and her husband when they visited Scottsdale when I lived there at the time. And really, we just stayed in touch, helped each other kind of push each other in our careers. And at that time, she was going into a leadership role and I was at my leadership role. I was there for about a year and a half looking for the next step where I can make my impact and really build out an org. She was like, hey, I'm an advisor for this company called Warmly. I'm going to do an introduction for you. And because of that connection, we always talk about how the impact of connections can be very powerful. Because of that original connection that I kept over the years, she helped introduce me to the place where I'm now the head of revenue. And we're definitely making some big impact in our space with Warmly.
That's fantastic. Yeah, no, it's been fun to watch you kind of build out this awesome program at Warmly. Obviously, I mean, more and more people I talk to have at least engaged in some way. Maybe they're a customer, maybe not, but they've engaged with you or someone at Warmly, and it's been fun to watch. One of the things you talked about is breaking those patterns, right? Be a pattern breaker. I think that's really interesting, especially for any individual contributors out there, certainly leaders too, so they can apply something like this in their org as well. But walk us through kind of how because there's probably different different things you're going to do for different products or companies, but always trying to identify the pattern breaker there. Walk us through kind of how you formalize that, how you think through that.
Yeah. So I think what really stands out for us is we do like the small little tactics that make a difference. So we do LinkedIn messages and connects, right? Everyone else is doing that, except so we already know we're competing against not only our own direct competitors, but we're competing with other people that are going after the same person and their time. So at the end of the day, you're actually competition for time, like Gary Vee would say. We're all day traders for time is an all-time high with this digital era we're in. Knowing that, I want my messages to stand out against everybody. because it is us versus everybody when we're trying to get in that person's inbox, right? So, with that being said, I add videos in our connection request. So, every rep has their own individual creating video that's 20, 30 seconds long. We're not trying to pitch our product. We're just trying to put a face to the name and say, hey, we drop valuable content on LinkedIn, because that's also a KPI that we're adding. And because of your product, I'm able actually to track that, which is great.
Yeah.
So, that's what we're looking at. Oh, is there an echo?
You're good.
You're good. Okay.
Yeah.
And so we're able to track, how people are posting on LinkedIn. So what we have is our reps post on LinkedIn, or, marketing will come up with good subjects that we can talk about. We kind of at the beginning of Monday say, hey, this is what we're going to try to talk about and be, subject matter experts on LinkedIn. And then at the same time, our messaging and our connection requests are tying back to that main value prop. So a lot of our messaging and our approach ties together. A lot of people don't think of that. A lot of people think I'm sending an email and then I'm going to send a completely different LinkedIn message, and then I'm going to send a completely different direct mail. I'm going to send a completely different, you name it, webinar invite. No. All the messaging should tie together and complement each other. That's a different approach. So when we send a connection request, we say, hey, I'm so-and-so, I work for so-and-so. We talk about this. So now if they connect with you and they don't automatically respond after a couple of message follow-ups, they at least see that you're active on LinkedIn and the knowledge that you're posting and that you're dropping, right? So it ties back together. So what we're doing is, again, tying the messaging together. We're adding video, and then we add GIFs. Because some videos now with LinkedIn's updates, you have to click on the link then to open the video. A GIF shows the animated preview of what I'm trying to get through that thick skull of theirs of like, hey, this is what we do, without them ever having to leave the interface of LinkedIn. Yeah. So that's some ways that we are very different in our approach in terms of the actual content itself. In terms of the messaging, a lot of our messaging via email now, because email is such a saturated channel. Obviously, we all saw the Google and Yahoo updates, and that's going to help it out. But what we've shifted, when I was a seller in 2019, it was all about, you got to push for the meeting via email and then follow up on the call, and that's how you close them. Buyers are smarter than that nowadays, right? So it's about educating them through email, seeing who's the most engaged, and focusing on that low-hanging fruit. And for all the rest, just let the other emails and messaging and marketing educate them further when they're ready and they're showing levels of engagement. For sales, focused on the engaged leads. I call that cold calling 3.0. I will never have a rep cold call a lead from a list that we've never reached out to. We don't have any recent engagement from the last 7 days. I don't believe in it. It's a waste of time. It's a waste of their money. It's a waste of our money. Not worth it.
Yeah, that's great, because I mean, there's probably some people listening here who are being asked, hey, do 60 cold calls a day, and they're just calling off a list, and there's no, there's nothing behind it. They bought a list. They kind of take. So I loved everything you walked through of opportunities to send videos, send a GIF. How do you, what are you doing on the every single channel, LinkedIn messages to email to, there's so many different ways to reach out. I love that it's also a similar message. It's not a different type of campaign every single channel. That's great.
Here's the secret. Here's the secret.
Yeah.
The same messaging in that email that I send to Prospect X, that Prospect X on LinkedIn is getting the shortened text version of that same type of value prop in a LinkedIn DM. All I'm doing is taking that same type of messaging, shortening it for the channel to make it, align with the channel communication better, because LinkedIn messaging is very similar to texting, right? It doesn't need to be formal, doesn't need to be long. But I could take that same video I sent them an email, and I am applying that same video in LinkedIn. And people are like, oh my gosh, why? Like, what if it's okay if they notice that it's the same video. The point is, most people are either going to see it in email or they're going to see it in LinkedIn. The chances of them seeing it in LinkedIn and email and then realizing it's the same video, very slim chance, because again, thousands of other people are reaching out to them. So omnichannel approach for the win. You don't have to reinvent the wheel for each channel.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. What's been your process implementing this to your team, right? Obviously, you were a high performer as an individual contributor, SDR, AE. Now that you're in leadership and you're looking at, a team of salespeople, how do you kind of implement these processes and find success to ensure that they're kind of using the same go-to-market motion that you've used and found success?
Yeah, so I learned that in my early days as a manager. I think I went into management in 2020. latter part of 2020, about after a year and a half of being both a top performing SDR and then a top performing account executive in the mid market space at DoorDash. And I actually wrote out the sequences there that they then wanted to duplicate and say, hey, we're going to use this across the whole org. So I knew I had something there, right? And I learned a lot from that leader saying, hey, we're going to take what you're doing here, see where we can scale it, and we're going to scale it. And then that's when I learned the economies of scale of like sequence writing and kind of this pattern breaking, messaging.
Mm-hmm.
So when I went into management, I took over all sequence writing. And basically, here's what I told the team. I said, my job is to empower and give you the right tools. Your job is to carry it out. You are the rep. I am the one that is the input. I input our messaging and tweak it. You are the output. You're the one that sends it out and acts upon it and reacts upon it on how, prospects engage. And I really built this like alignment with the team of saying, I am the one that can provide the resources. You picked me, the org picked me, but I always kind of encourage my team like, hey, you picked me to be your leader to lead us through this battle. Let me equip us with the right ammunition, the right strategy, and then you carry it out. And then my top warriors, right, my top performers, we had our own little secret committee, not secret, but like our own private committee where we would talk about things that we needed to change. And I would like to bring in a lot of their innovation because obviously it goes back to when I was a top performer, I was doing things that were different. And my manager wanted to learn from that to apply it to the org. And so I kind of scaled that by always having my 2 to 3 top performers in a bi-weekly meeting to see what messaging we need to change, what new channels we should add, what new approaches, right? I used to not be a big LinkedIn voicemail user until finally one of my top reps was like, hey, I'm killing it with LinkedIn voicemail. We should start having the team add this script. Led to 20% uplift in meetings from LinkedIn across the whole org. I had 15 reps at the time.
I love that. I've been doing the voice. I've been doing the voice recording as well. It's great. Just like commuting, you've got 20, 30 minutes on a commute or something. You can, add another hour to your day, just lining up a few messages that you're going to do some recordings while you're driving. And I actually think people appreciate that you're kind of taking your normally a podcast time or, something else. And you're actually taking that time to record to record your voice. I think that's great.
It's human, right? And it actually, I call her the queen of LinkedIn. Her name is Rebecca Costa. She's very active on LinkedIn, and she literally would book 90% of her meetings from LinkedIn, and she hit 120 to 150% of quota as an SDR.
Wow.
And what she would do is she would take my strategy and kind of shake it up a bit. I had us make general videos per persona, right? It's like marketing, like videos for marketers, videos for salespeople, videos for owners, etc., right? And she'd be like, nope, I'm doing this type of messaging, and based on how they engage on LinkedIn and how they because you could see LinkedIn now, the notifications they read it, she would personalize the videos. And her response rate went through the roof. And then we started scaling that to the org saying, hey, if you want to use the generic videos, you can. If you want to basically sniper, lack of a better term, those that are like, wait for those that are kind of popping their head up and then send a personalized video, do it. And we saw an uptick as well in meetings that way. It was different per rep. It wasn't as scalable, but it's just another example of taking what a top rep's doing it and trying to apply it to the org.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. I love, it's, and the ability to identify, you're talking pattern breaker, but there's also like successful patterns that you identify and then replicate and, implement, other methods and things there.
You ever see the movie Inception?
Oh, of course.
Right. So there's the dream within a dream. I always tell folks that the omnichannel, there's the omni approach within the omnichannel. So with LinkedIn, we have 3 approaches: video, regular message, voicemail, sending them an article. So I guess that's 4, right? With email, it's regular email, video, sending them a tour, like an example demo, or like, and then like, the reply bumps or multi-threading, right? Looping in like a CEO or an executive or maybe a referral. But again, that's multiple approaches in one channel. We're trying to maximize the amount of omni approaches per channel that we can do. That is what really gets me excited and really what gets the team fired up, because we know the more ways that we can differentiate per channel, the more we're going to get our messages read, the more we're going to be heard. And the more you're heard, the more people can probably resonate with that pain that you solve for, and the more meetings you're eventually going to get. It's a waterfall effect.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I like that. The more you're heard, like, I think a lot of SDRs, just because they're held to a quota of meeting set or something, they're not really thinking through just being heard often throughout the day to be able to unlock those few, meetings that are just, they're going to make sense, right? Someone's going to have that pain. It's going to be the right timing. But the more you're heard, the more you're going to kind of uncover those opportunities. So yeah, I love the approach. It makes a lot of sense. What, you know, it's easy to say, hey, there's all these channels.
Mhm.
Hit up all of them, be a pattern breaker. What are some of those ways that maybe you're scanning the background of someone on their LinkedIn, or, how do you kind of unlock a unique video that you were going to record to someone, and that it's going to kind of resonate with them? Is there like a few, you have a framework in place or something that you kind of identify as, oh, this will stand out to them? Like, how do you kind of unlock that quickly?
Um, Demographics of age.
Okay.
There's actually studies. Um, we're millennials.
Yes.
Is it Gen
Gen
X? What's the one older than us?
Yeah, what's the one right ahead of us? There's one yeah. Yeah, I think it's Gen X. I think you're right. Yeah.
Gen X, because it's baby boomers and then Gen
Yeah.
X, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So baby boomers and Gen X share this similar studies show that they share similar interests in YouTube videos explaining how to do things that are very thorough. So these are like your 3 to 5 minute YouTube videos. You take that same scenario and you apply it to millennials. They want something that's less than 2 minutes. You take that same scenario and you apply it to Generation Z and Y and everything younger after that, 30 seconds or less. However, consumption of video content for the younger generation is 3x that of the older. So what I've learned to do is based off of the demographics of their age and the industry and the persona, you split that up. So if it's an executive that's been in the seat for 20 plus years, right? I'm not going to bore them with 3 paragraphs. It's going to be a decent paragraph that leads to the hook of a very thorough video. If I'm reaching out to a co-founder that is 25, he's first job out of college was starting his own company, which kudos to that person,
Yeah.
right? Like that's awesome to see. I'm going to send them a quick hooking line that goes to a quick teaser video that's 45 seconds or less. Then I'm going to send that person a follow-up like I'm going to basically break that 3 minute video into probably 3 different sessions for the younger, but then for the older, I'll make it more thorough because when they do have the time, if it does pique their interest, they will fully watch the video. People don't realize like there's a bunch of demographic studies on this, and we're living in a digital age where look at TikTok, look at Reels, look at even news articles. Why are online news articles including videos in there? Because they know that's how their viewership wants to obtain information. Sales just sometimes doesn't coordinate. Like sales folks don't coordinate that data that, hey, what are you doing in your spare time with your friends or family? I'm sending them a funny reel. I'm sending them a TikTok for the holidays. I'm sending my girlfriend this video thinking it's hilarious. Or I'm sending my girlfriend or friend a video of like, hey, this is a cool bar or dinner spot we should go check out. All that is through video. I can't remember the last time someone sent me an article about a hot spot to check out in Phoenix, right? It's all video. So why are we not applying that same logic when we're trying to grab their attention and pitch them something?
Yeah, that hits hard because I think there's still a lot of, especially with AI, right? There's still a lot of content just typing out clever phrases and things like that. And that work, that's part of the omni-channel approach, right? But the opportunity for
Yeah.
video and how that gets shared, if even if the product doesn't work for us, if someone reaches out to me in a really clever way, I typically share that with my team saying, hey, we should be doing something similar. Like it really does resonate. And the other thing I mentioned, Keegan, is a lot of people think that just emails aren't being opened at all, especially with the recent announcements of just bulk emailing and things like that. And the reality is, I think of my own inbox, and we as a team, we really try to make sure we don't miss anything in our inboxes with, an email from someone we're working with. We never want to miss out on an opportunity to provide a good experience. So I see every email that, I skim through them. I delete them quickly if I can tell they're just bulk emails and things like that. But I look at all of them, and I think that's something that people don't realize, that really you're taking the time to go omni-channel, create a lot of different types of content. It's going to be seen. I love that you said you got to be heard, right? I really believe that's the case. Isn't that true?
It's not a battle of like, I gotta to be able to get a meeting, if you're an SDR or even a sales leader, to be able to even get to the meeting, to get to that qualified op, you first have to be what? Heard. I studied advertising. People don't know this. My college was ranked for the top communication program in the country. And we were known. So if you look at national broadcasters, a lot of them came from Washington State University. So give a quick shout out to Washington State University about that.
Nice, yeah.
But our program of PR and advertising was tied a lot together. And we broke down the whole funnel of awareness, consideration, and then the other parts of marketing. And what really stood out were the awareness and the consideration. And that still applies to today, but I kind of flip it around for sales development saying, awareness and then to be heard is what I would consider consideration. And so I'm making them aware that, hey, I'm messaging them through the omnichannel approach, and then I'm fighting to be heard. Once I'm heard, the more I'm heard out, the more opportunities that are going to come. And I think that's like the switch in the mindset that a lot of reps need to take. Is it's not a game of how many demos I can book. It's a game of how many times can I be heard.
Yeah, I know a lot of SDRs, they may be held to a quota of meetings being booked, but the focus is on conversations, right? Like responses and having some type of engagement there. And I think that's a meaningful shift as well. That
should be KPI. Like that would be like a modern KPI where it's like, yes, we have a quota too. My reps got to book 12 SQOs. So that really takes them, that means they have to book 15 meetings with our conversion rate that we have to get to 12 sales qualified opportunities, right? Well, I tell my team, the more though that you're heard and the more that your messages are read, those meetings will funnel in. And it's true. I have reps that are hitting 110, 115%. I haven't had a rep miss quota in 4 months after teaching this mindset shift of like, again, the more times you're heard, the more opportunities you're going to have, right? And they're applying that now with their strategic outreach with this omnichannel approach. One of the things that helps though too is I tell people you need to have that relationship with sales and marketing, right?
Yes.
Because I'm grabbing all these people to the website, which means marketing has to have those really seamless forms, easy to fill out. Or in our case, right, we have our own product, which is Warmly, which is the chatbot side of things. And I tell people getting in tune with marketing to allow reps to access that chatbot can be all the difference. Whether it's Warmly or just a chatbot in general, a lot of people today just focus on 3 things: email, LinkedIn, calling. I focus, and I have the dashboard right here that I can easily share, is what we focus on. Entire screen, or right here.
We're getting tactical here. With the software Cowboy giving us. Yeah, look at these results. Wow.
We focus on, this is the last 6 months. We focus on LinkedIn. Our inbound is driven by actually some of this inbound. If you actually sliced into it, because I have another report that actually slices into the different layers of this, right? As you see, If you actually see LinkedIn, almost 40% of that is driven from outbound, where people have heard us out and then they go on their own time and read some of the stuff we're pushing them to on the website, and then they fill out those seamless forms, relationship with sales and marketing, right?
Yeah.
And so that's why I'm head of revenue and not just head of sales, because I work with marketing a lot to align all revenue growth needs, right?
Yeah.
And so I have attribution reporting in another report, but you can see we're using LinkedIn. We're driving people to inbound, and we're partnering with marketing to also do that brand awareness on LinkedIn to help drive inbound. And again, we have the reports that show it's working, that relationship. Then we're getting folks via email from sequencing. Oh, sequencing's going to die. No, it's not. Look at that. How many of you in the last 6 months can say with a team of, I have a team of 5 now, but when I had this going, I only had a team of 3 SDRs, 50 meetings coming from email.
Wow. Yeah.
And guess what? Only 30% of those are personalized. The rest of those are auto emails, baby. And then we're asking for referrals. We're adding basically our outreach to include in our email and our LinkedIn some of our top customers that want to express their love, like you guys. We literally closed a customer in your that works in the same office as you guys because they saw the impact it was having on your site, and they're like, well, we want to check it out. We've heard good things from Alicio. So, right? So referrals helps a ton, and looping those people in when you're doing your cold outreach, as long as they don't mind. Going to conferences, you don't need to spend a lot of money. I just showed up, wore the hat, was my loud, proud self, went up to people. I didn't ask to scan their badge. I have a saying, I won't say on this podcast, but I say scanning is for softies. It's about booking it right then and there. And because that's how I can tell who is interested and who's not.
Yeah.
Right. So we would actually book them right there at the conferences, and then look at how many people we're getting from our chatbot. Again, yes, Warmly helps a ton because we can see who's on the website, de-anonymize, and then chat with them proactively. But even if you only had a chat like HubSpot that's reactive to when, or Drift, only reactive to when people come inbound, you're still probably going to get 10 to 15 extra meetings per month per quarter from that channel. So every channel is vital, even if it's not the top performing channel. Look at that, 23 compared to 136. I'll still make sure that my reps are actively working that chat. So we still get 23 to 30 more demos in, which leads to, with our 40% close rate, 6 to 8 more customers from that channel.
Fantastic. Yeah, no, I mean, thinking about chat bot as well being a whole nother channel, obviously more of an inbound channel, but there's so many different opportunities to be heard, to be seen, to be out there. And I think that's great. That's just a great focus for, entry level, first time SDRs or AEs to very seasoned people in sales, right? It's like you just need this constant reminder to be heard, to create content, to get out there. Keegan, I'd love to ask you the question just because you've built these processes out so cleanly. How do you feel like AI has helped? Has that benefited you? Has it given you an opportunity to be a pattern breaker as you personalize? Like, where do you feel like AI has fit into this process for you?
Yeah, AI. So like we use Warmly is AI. It's taking intent. It's basically baking in the AI features of like how we queue up messages when they come to the chat based on what landing page they're on, and who they are. The AI message is going to be completely different and more personalized, which leads to more people responding, which leads to more bites. Like you're fishing, which leads to more opportunities. And then the AI side of like intent, matching it up with the best fit sequence based on how they visited and interacted with our brand online or through social or third party intent, like keywords that they're searching. The AI will calculate all that, pick the best route, and then push them to a sequence automatically. So having that, what I call AI SDR assistant, has helped immensely. In terms of like AI written messaging, not a fan. Call me old school. Don't think I'm really gonna have AI truly write my messaging. I like to have AI maybe when I write a hardcore like a hard copy. I like AI to help edit it, make it shorter. That's as far as I usually go with the messaging piece.
Yeah, that's a piece that I feel like people don't utilize enough. Is like you have some copy and hey, put it into AI to rewrite it slightly different with a different tone, with shorter, synthesize. That's a great one too. Just being able to synthesize a lot of data quickly with AI. Yeah, that's fantastic. Well, Keegan,
but hey, I do want to wrap it up here just because I do have to hop, but I want to be able to answer any last questions you have.
Yeah, no, we always ask the question, Keegan, to you, what does a great day in sales look like?
A great day in sales. I'm going to look back at yesterday. A great day in sales was every rep was super happy. Some reps had a great turnout of, meetings being held, turning to SQOs. Some reps didn't. But what we saw across the whole board was everyone was just stoked and happy to be where they're at, was happy to be part of the grind. And we were closing deals and we were literally already talking about how we're going to win the next day. I think too many people get trapped in the daily things of like, oh, we didn't get a deal closed today. Oh, I didn't get that meeting booked today. But what did you do that's going to lead to that positive impact the next day, right? Because again, sales is a marathon, not a sprint. And so a great day in sales is everyone that's excited to be part of the grind.
Yeah, I love that. That's a great way to wrap things up. Keegan, thank you so much. We've really appreciated all of our guests that have just kind of answered that question for us. What does a great day in sales look like? And your answer, you thought right away, well, what was yesterday like? Because it was a great day. And then you're already looking to how you're going to make the next day great. So I love that process. Love how you think. Really appreciate your time, Keegan. I think everyone listening is going to get some great ideas and insights from everything you shared. And we sure appreciate being connected with you, the Software Cowboy, and we're looking forward to everything in the future. So thank you.
Thank you, Justin, and I look forward to seeing you and the team when I'm in Salt Lake in January.
I love it. Hey, Keegan, we'll see ya.